Good afternoon, people. Quick video. I want to talk about the elephant in the room. Indeed. A couple things. If your eyes are wide open, if you're paying attention at all, to the military environment, to the climate as a whole, in terms of humanity, because really, at the end of the day, the military is just a sample population of the rest of the world. We would like to think that the military is something special. Sony, I promise you. We deal with all these different issues that may or may not be apparent in the military. But of course, we must acknowledge the fact that we come from the civilian world. We are a sample population. And so obviously a lot of the issues that are prevalent in the civilian world are going to, come here, and what you measure, tends to get managed. If you manage the numbers concerning one specific area, one disease, one ongoing trend, you would notice growth, downtrends, etc. So obviously, the mental health, it is what it is. How do we solve that? The ongoing question that leaders are trying to solve, how do we solve the mental health crisis? What is the solution? Is there a button that we can press? Is there a mandatory fund day that we can implement? How do we get people to be happy? Is that even a thing? How does that fall to the military to fix that? Is there a solution available anywhere in the world, to solve that issue? Well, let's start with just one of the basics. One of the basics: loneliness, people. So I don't often read books, but when I do, it's on a Kindle, or at least the Kindle app. And on the app, I only have a couple books on there, mainly because I listen to Audible. Um, where'd it go? Everything happens on your wedding day. So, loneliness. How do you deal with loneliness, people? At some point, you're going to find yourself feeling lonely while surrounded by people, you know? How's that possible? People everywhere. You work with the same people. You go in the office, and the same people you saw yesterday, 12 hours ago, 8 hours ago. It's the same people you'll work with today for another 8 to 12 hours. You'll leave and you come back and see the same people, and you feel lonely. What is missing? Is it connection? Are you connecting merely on the common ground of solving the same problem day in and day out, working a job? You know, is that enough for the human mind? I constantly make reference to the different memes that you witness on Twitter and what have you, Instagram. People claiming they're so cold, I don't need nobody. I'll cut you off in a hot second. Cool. I used to be one of those people. You could probably find videos on this very channel of me making those same claims of, I don't need anyone. I'll do it by myself. I'll go alone. It's one of my favorite hashtags to this very day is go alone. It's something I live out because at the end of the day, there will be moments where you'll be by yourself. Being single is not being lonely. Being by yourself is not being lonely. Being alone is not being lonely. You feel me? So, I'm reading this book. It's by Dr. Mike Murdock. What's the title of this thing? I believe it's called 365 Wisdom Keys of Mike Murdock. It's on Kindle. Interesting book. It's not really a book. It's just a book of quotes. If I were to write a book, it would be in the same exact format. A book of just quotes. If you look at my Twitter, all I post is quotes, for the most part. I enjoy a quality quote that makes you think. So, quote number 93. Loneliness is not the absence of affection, but rather the absence of direction. Loneliness is not the absence of affection, but rather the absence of direction. As a man, and I can only speak for myself. I don't attempt to speak for any other gender. Um, I speak for myself. And being a man, I noticed that the number one thing that typically controls the rest of my day is my focus. And while we're mentioning focus, I'll mention another wisdom key. My focus controls my day, and my focus controls how I feel. It controls my feelings. Woe to those who wake up with nothing to do. I promise on everything I love, I'm a huge fan of Sony. But listen, it's time for a change. It's time for a change. Ask yourself this question. When was the last time that you felt alone and why? Why? Something to ponder on. Why do you feel alone? What makes you feel alone? Why is that even a thing? Is it possible to talk yourself into feeling lonely? Like, have you convinced yourself that you're alone in this world? I have plenty of videos on this channel, and I'm not gonna lie to you. I still stand by the statement that no one cares about you, but I've questioned it as of late. I've questioned it as of late because there is always exception to the rule in most cases. I promise you. There's always an exception to the rule when it comes to certain laws that prevail in this world. I ask you, what makes you feel lonely? Do you have a direction that you're traveling in? Uh, Creativity is the creation of options. Creativity is the creation of options. Focus is the removal of options. It's the removal of paths. It's the decision to say yes to one and no to everything else. Marriage is the decision to eliminate all other options and to choose one in the most traditional sense. Obviously, we have variations that uh, allow you to have your cake and eat it too, which is what it is. I have no comment. Or what does loneliness have to do with focus? What does that have to do with direction? If you notice during quarantine, if you sit in your house long enough by yourself, your mind begins to talk to you. Your mind begins to tell you about yourself. Bruh, you dusty. You ain't bathed all day. You logged into work, and if these cameras were on, if the government was actually watching you, you're just sitting in your filth all day long, logged in, answering emails. What kind of worthless? Like your mind just begins to just inform you that you are, you know, dusty, and then you snap out of it. You turn some music on, you turn the TV on. You quickly fill your head with noise because your insecurities begin to just. Loneliness is not the absence of affection, but rather the absence of direction. Loneliness in the military is probably one of the most. It's like a taboo topic for some reason. People will leave their homes, leave their families, leave their husbands and wives, their children, go to a different state, move in with 40 to 50 to 60 different strangers from all around the world, be crammed into a room, and what is the first thing that the drill sergeant, the MTI gives to all the recruits? A goal. And that's all they have in common from that moment forward is we got to make beds. We got to do dust downs. We got formation. We got to clean the latrines. We got to shower. We got to go chow. It's always we. The first thing that they give to them is a common goal. They take their names. You're not wearing Air Force on your chest. It's going to be empty. You're not wearing your own name on your chest. You are a number. It's called a control roster. You are a number. You are a social security number. But when you have a common goal, you notice now I have a direction. I know where I'm going. And anyone who's going in the same direction, we now share that common goal. Hence, now we can relate. Now, is this effective in the real world outside of the military? Yes. What's the difference? One is highly advisable. One is insist upon. You don't have an option if you want to stay here. Basic training, that they're teaching obedience. In the real world, we have an option. We have one of these in our face. After I make this video, I'm going downstairs. I'm 17 minutes late. We're celebrating the Air Force's birthday. For those of you who are going for BTZ, comment down below if you know when the Air Force's birthday is. I know most of y'all gonna cheat. It's cool, but it's something you should know. Something you should know, both the day and the year. A little bit of the history, how we, were born out of the Army, and who pioneered that and who got court-martialed because of that. It's just it's good knowledge to have. It's going to come up on one of y'all's tests at some point. It's going to be a question on your test. The Navy, the Army, the Marines, they beat this history into you. Just good knowledge to have. If somebody comments in the live chat, I'll give you a little shout out. Red Pill Sailor, you're exempt because I'm sure you're on 10. Well, you Navy, so whoever comments it, we'll get a little love. Loneliness. How is it, people? Explain to me. Explain to me how everyone in a common environment, such as tech school, such as BNT, such as your first duty station, such as your current office where you currently work, whether it be civilian or military, you can be surrounded by people all going through the same thing, and yet you can't find someone to confide in. What is the obstacle to overcome? I would argue, my humble opinion, pride. Pride. I made a video called "What if humility is the key to happiness?" Humility. Remove the process of removing pride, the willingness to ask for help, the willingness to say, I'm not doing okay in this area, I need help. Please realize the difference between venting and pulling someone aside and say, listen, I'm struggling with this. There's a time and place. There's still protocol. There's a right way of doing things. There's a way to tell your leadership, listen, I'm struggling with this. I need help. I can't handle this alone. I'm not equipped enough to deal with professional issues. People go to college for 8+ years, 10+ years to deal with things that I'm struggling with every day. Maybe it's the case that you're not well equipped to deal with something by yourself. Now, loneliness is not something that it's not deep. It's not something you get diagnosed with. You don't got to go see a professional turns out you're struggling with loneliness. No. I would argue that most people are struggling with it, whether or not you have people living in the same house with you. I'm not above admitting that I struggle with loneliness, and there will be times, and as much as I move around, I'm constantly on the move, especially on weekends. I'm out and about, just doing something. I fill my day with activities, with opportunities, with experiences. Shout out to Jennifer. You could be in a marriage and be alone, because being being understood, being physically around someone has nothing to do with a connection. And this is where we run into the entitlement issues that I struggle with the most, in terms of, I see it everywhere. The entitlement, you should know what I'm going through. You should be able to predict that I'm struggling with this without me saying anything. Now, I will say this. The proof of caring is discernment. Meaning, if I've known you for 5 years, I should know when something's wrong based upon what is normal, what normally occurs in your life, the way you normally behave. So my ability to tell when something's wrong comes from my knowledge of you. It's like science. Again, I mentioned this in my last stream. Science tells us what occurs normally. So when we see Bigfoot, it's like people are surprised that there's sharks in the water. You guys know what occurs normally in the ocean. Why are you surprised that you got ate up? The knowledge of a person allows you to discern when something's wrong. They don't need to tell you anything, but that comes with time, that comes with effort. So when it comes to normally engaging in your environment, when it comes to engaging with strangers, when it comes to just going to work, dealing with your office environment, how is it that we expect people to just pick up on our energy? We expect people who they show up to get their check. They show up to support their family. They show up for their education. And we want strangers to just automatic, I notice something's wrong with you. It may happen. But the fact that a lot of us expect it, we require people to discern something's wrong with us, discern our space, discern our energy. That's a lot to expect from someone you don't know, someone you don't sleep with, someone you don't go home with. No one knows the color of your drawers, meaning that there's a part of you that has never been exposed in a work environment, nor should it be. Intimacy does not belong in certain environments. It requires a pass key, such as effort, such as there's levels to relationship. So back to loneliness before I start get too excited. I would admonish you. I would challenge you. I would encourage you. Despite what people may say about the military, despite what people might think about the military, what they might think about individuals in the military, I would challenge you to see the humanity in people around you. To see the humanity in people that you don't typically hang around. To see the humanity in people that you typically don't enjoy. People whose opinion you disagree with. What would happen if something you've been praying for exists in someone that you don't enjoy? An answer that you've been looking for, you've been searching high and low for, exists in someone that you refuse to spend time with because whatever reason, you have whatever bias against a certain person. I don't like the way they drink I don't like they're sitting on that straw. It's too much. This person doesn't play video games, so we have nothing in common. This person plays video games, we have nothing in common. This person, whatever. Nowadays, we're separating everything and everyone into categories. Everyone gets their own category. And it may or may not be accurate. Cool. It's accurate. We have properly diagnosed every category, every section, every niche. Every part of a human has been broken down into its own section, its own purpose, its own area. Now what? I'm too different to relate to another human being. We're in the same uniform, the same office, doing the same job, and yet we're lonely. My current office, there's probably less than anybody watching this, unless you have a small office like mine, which a lot of you may. I have a very small office, basically. I'm in the business of preserving relationships, preserving bridges. I'm only here for a year. Active duty, come through this base for a year. I'm here to learn first names, say yes to invites, show up, show my face, engage, ask questions, you know, provide value, and then go about my business. But imagine if I came in here, and by no means is it easy. Is by no means is anything I'm saying easy. Shout out to TJW4 Unc 93, correct year. Let's get a date up in there. What I'm saying is loneliness is something that's easily fixable. Again, it has nothing to do with being physically around people. We live in it when I deployed. Imagine I actually like pondered on the fact that I get deployed with one of these. You know. Now, for those of the old school people that are watching, because I pay attention to my analytics, and every now and then we'll have a spike in the older crowd of the 30 pluses, the 40 pluses, the 50 pluses, and I can hear your stomach getting tight. You know, these soft millennials and Generation Z and what have you. You know, they come in with their soft tendencies and their tears flowing as they walk through the gates of the military, and that's who I got to serve with. Cool. You know, the second you see them with their phones in their hand and their hoodies on their backs and they're wearing their Hillies and they just graduated high school last week and that they want candy, and you tell them, hey, you have to come in on time and you have to be in the right uniform. It has to be ironed more or less, and you need to shave and you need to have a haircut. And you see, and you know, the old school military who ruck marched and jumped out of planes. And how do these two generations, you know, collide? You know, are the boomers above loneliness? Or are they above, you know, their experiences that when they came in, you know, they got dealt with? No, it was a different generation. Some would call our generation soft. You know, they don't want to work hard. They're always trying to cut corners and work smart. They're always trying to find a better way of doing it. They're always trying to innovate on things that we've always done. What is the solution to that? One of the biggest issues I deal with at my current base, my current position, is I like to email everything. I don't care if it's the smallest understood. Got you. Thanks. Thanks for following up. Jay, just following up. Here's this. I email everything. And I work with headphones on. Noise canceling headphones. It allows me to feel like I have my own office. I discovered that when I was deployed. I don't need my own room. I need noise canceling headphones. I don't want to know the other person's over there. I don't want to sense them. So I cut off my senses. Hearing is one of them. It's the first thing I go to is noise canceling. You know? But with that, I've had to adjust the way I communicate, knowing that the older generation, you know, people who just they grew up differently than I did. You know, they grew up with face-to-face conversations. That's how they work. You know, they don't want to type out a long, itemized list of just perfectly articulated, you know, they'll come right over to your desk. Hey, I just sent you an email, but I just want to follow up. I'm like, you just sent me an email. Why are you following up? Why are you calling me after you? But that's how they communicate. It's a different generation. I email everything. I text everything. I like to have a documentation on everything I do. I don't like saying things twice. I don't like having to, just to piggyback, just to follow up. Oh, just to reiterate, just to clarify. No, send one email that has a date stamp on it. They're not accountable. Done. But again, I'm different. They're different. Neither one is wrong. How far are you willing to accommodate someone who is different? I would pose that question to the older generation, to baby boomers, Generation X. I would pose that question to, how do you deal with someone who is different than you? Are you willing to give them a chance? You know, how quick are we to judge someone by their rank and not who they are? This world, unfortunately, judges people based on what they are. You know, I would argue that typically men, myself, I get judged for what I am. When I go out on a date, I'm getting judged for what I am. I can be the most seemingly the most joyful, beautiful, ambitious, just intelligent young man out here just trying to be on a nice little date. I don't want anything from you. Just innocent, just I have no ulterior motives. I'm just here to be on a nice date, drink some wine. But dating questions started rising. What do you do? Where do you work? They might ask it directly, but they're trying to get to certain core issues that they value in a relationship, in another person, bringing them into their life. It's normal at this point. You realize that society, it consists of a bunch of individuals, but as a collective, you'll be judged on what you are, how you contribute, what value do you bring to society. It's not going to change. So you join the military and you have the people that were there before you, the E5s, the E6 that's been in, 10 plus years or what have you. And they see the new youngins coming in with their iPods, and they got AirPods Pro in their ear. And, both are struggling. The young generation, the ones fresh out of BMT and tech school, and they're all motivated and ready to serve. And they got tattoos of the Air Force logos on their arm, and they're just they got a high and tight, and they just want to do PT and CDCs, and they're just so happy. And then you got the E5s that are barely passing PT tests, and they're overworked, and that they have a horrible imbalance in their life and their work balance, and they're gaining weight, PT tests coming up, and they're eating trash, but they got to meet these deadlines that the commander's throwing stuff on their desk, and the stuff was overflowing. And neither side wants to compromise. Neither side wants to give the other one a break. Me and my boy Vance, we was working at the Pentagon, and we staying late, just working. My supervisor out of town, and so we worked. We was just working, but we was talking about how the people that we used to judge, we used to roast in secret. That Dusty E5, the Dusty NCO, the Dusty NCOIC, that's Dusty E6. And I was like, bro, you notice that we're slowly but surely turning into the people we used to roast. My PT test scores are not in the 90s. Like, trust me, like that run is something awful. Just keep it a buck. Like, that run is something awful. I get out there and that track is endless. Just how many laps I got left? 23. I'm like, bruh, come on, man. I ace everything else, push-ups and sit-ups, but that run, that is something different. I was like, bro, we are turning into the people we used to roast. People that we used to just, but they always leaving early. Always trying to find a way to get out the office. And then now I look at myself and I'm like, bro, I'm trying to get out the office. I got an appointment. I got somewhere to be. I got to go do this. We used to do the same thing to our parents. Why are you always taking naps? You don't ever want to go nowhere. Friday night comes and we all pumped to go do something. Hey, let's go do this. And our parents trying to go to sleep, trying to take a nap. No, I just want to stay in and watch TV, and I just want to get under my blanket, order some food. The divide of different. Why have we become fearful of difference? America is one of those countries that just happens to suffer and also, benefit from having all these different cultures combined in one. It's why we dominate the Olympics, is because we have variation. We dominate most things because we have variation. We show up and we have one of each. We have a different person to solve a different problem from all different backgrounds. We go to the food court. It's amazing. It's not just all General Tso's. We have everything from Taco Bell to Chick-fil-A to Popeyes to Panda Express to it's not Subway. Variation. This all ties into loneliness, because if you realize that you have more in common with the people that you don't typically want to be with, you want to hang with. It's something I deal with, even now. On Clear, the age difference, the interest differences. On weekends I'm trying to be out. I'm trying to go explore. I'm trying to go see the ends of Alaska. I'm trying to see every corner because I don't plan on coming back. Meanwhile, you have a lot of people that just want to drink. Some people, but again, I'm not judging them for that. I don't fault you for that. We're different. We're different. I'm not going to burn a bridge. I'm not going to create a divide between us because we're different. And there will come a time, especially in Alaska, here in Alaska, where you're on a remote, you're geographically separated from the bulk of the population of Alaska. And, you will have to fully maximize the usage of the people around you. You're going to have to invest in the people around you. You're going to have to invest time and effort in getting to know people's names, getting to know and learn what they enjoy. Turns out a lot of loneliness has to do with whether or not you're willing to invest interest. It's not about you. What if loneliness, the root of loneliness, was that you are unapproachable? I've had to deal with that. I still deal with that. I have something called finance face, where it's just, I see someone approaching and they look like they're about to ask me a question, and I don't want to answer your question about what's already on your LES. You could have just read that. I sent you an email last week, and you're going to ask me the question of what I emailed you about already. And that's something I personally have to work on, is being approachable, smiling, laughing at dumb jokes. Effort. That's the point. Effort. There's a skit, Dave Chappelle, of we trying to keep it real too much. Like, all right, we got it. If I got to this base and just spoke every single I don't like this, that's horrible. Why are we doing this? That don't make sense. Who came up with this? This will be a long year of me ostracizing myself, pushing people away. And that's how loneliness tends to start. It starts with, first of all, accountability. Have I done everything I can personally do to be approachable, to be valuable to someone else? Have I attempted to solve a problem for someone else? That's where relationship starts. That's where networking starts, is problem solving. Not for you, but you solving a problem for someone else, being valuable. There's just a question of worth. Know your worth. It's one of my probably top 5 hated phrases of the 2000s. Know your worth. I used to say it all the time. Oh, I know my worth. It's irritating. You hear me? It's irritating. I would argue that knowing your worth relates greatly to the problem that you solve in society. Perfect example. You get paid according to the problem that you solve. People at McDonald's demanding $85,000 an hour. You're not solving that big of a problem. We can replace you. I used to work at McDonald's. It's not hard. We all expect to get paid according to the problem that we're solving. So when we look at relationships, the same thing applies. When it applies to friendships, what problem are you solving for the people around you, that they want to be around you, that they want to hang out with you, that they will invite you places? Are you fun? Do you add value? Do you add excitement? Do you add energy to a dynamic? Or are you a wet blanket? You just, woe is me, and why is everything just so horrible? And that's not fun. I don't want to go there. And we wonder why we're alone. We wonder why we most introverts want to be invited somewhere, and they just want the chance to say no. But you notice that the invites stop coming. You know, oh, we figured that you had something else to do. The invites stopped coming because you just kind of, get pushed off the island. I'm here to say that whether or not you're willing to admit it, I'm talking to you. Whether or not you're willing to admit it, we all deal with feeling lonely, feeling left out, the fear of missing out, the fear of not being invited somewhere. You know, on some level, that there's been a time where you felt like I don't belong. You know, when I was deployed and I was out and about and exploring the local area, I did not fit in. I was not, obviously not in the same context, but like I just stood out. I was different. We're all different. I would challenge you. And something I'm quite good at because it's kind of just it's normal to who I am. Hey, it just fits. I have a skill of picking out people across a room who are just by themselves. People that who are just kind of on the edge of everything. Not that they need to be in the middle of everything. Not that they need to be in the middle of a crowd dancing and being the life of the party. But I can pick out someone through a multitude of people by themselves, playing a little video game or on their cell phone, trying to act like they're really engaged in that text conversation when they're really just scrolling. I can pick that out because I am that same person in certain environments, in certain contexts. I become that person. And a great exercise is to go engage with that person, almost to the point that they're more comfortable that you actually came to talk to them. But again, it's not for them. It looks like it. It's for you. Trust me, it works. The act of giving when you feel like you need something is the cure. I'll say that again. The act of giving while you feel like you need something is the cure for that need that you have. Turns out when you give, you get back. The turning point of this channel that you're watching, the 43 people watching right now, the turning point of this channel was when I started giving advice. Giving. I stopped asking for likes, stopped asking for comments, stopped asking for subscribes, stopped asking people to hit the bell. I used to have a Patreon, believe it or not. Believe it or not, I used to have all the different affiliate links and all of that. All of that. I used to have all that. And I noticed that the channel began to grow leaps and bounds when I just simply stopped asking and just giving value. Answer their questions. Find out what they're lacking in their journey. How can I help them have a smoother process into joining the Air Force? Make one less mistake than I did. Calling people, giving people my phone number, letting people FaceTime me. Like just having a conversation. I'm driving somewhere, I'm parked somewhere, I'm sitting there scrolling on my phone. But while I'm waiting, hey, let me just go down my list of the thousands of people that got DM questions and just voice message, just answer the questions and actually put some effort into it. Try to truly dig deep, ask follow-up questions, follow-up questions, follow-up questions, another follow-up question. No solution, just another follow-up question. Let them feel heard. Let them talk. Let them get it out. Let them get their heart just clear, get it completely off their chest. And what happened else? What happened next? What else? What else? Why? How that make you feel? Like I'm not playing a therapist. I'm just here. I'm listening to someone. When I start giving, it's a dope feeling. I promise you. Anyway, I'm done. Loneliness is the absence. I don't know why I keep tripping over that word. Loneliness is the absence of affection, but the absence of direction. I completely messed it up. Loneliness is not the absence of affection, but rather the absence of direction. When you feel lonely, that's a signal that you should be providing value to someone else, or Maybe it's opportunity to look inward, take accountability, to identify areas in your life that you may be operating in pride, you know, areas that you probably should be, asking for help in. Loneliness is a human problem. It has nothing to do with rank, position, money. People that have millions blowing their heads off, lonely, you know, hopeless. Hopeless. I've been to some dusty parts of this country, and a lot of them I've enjoyed when I had someone with me. The toughest person in the world, just, the biggest person in the gym loves to have a training partner, you know? And sadly, sadly, the reality of it is that a lot of us, the bulk of the world, the bulk of the population will not acknowledge this truth until tragedy hits. It's unfortunate. It's the state of humans and the way we operate, and what triggers us, what leads us to change. Typically is tragedy. Something has to go wrong for us to realize, hey, I actually value that. I value that person. I miss them. Why? Tragedy. Someone has to die for us to say, hey, you my boy. Why? I don't know. It's something to think about. Think about, how certain people make you feel in the moment. Have you honored them for that? Have you identified what problem that they solved in your life? You don't keep them around for no reason. They don't keep you around for no reason. There's a reason why you guys enjoy each other's company. Have you identified that? There's that one person at work that you enjoy, you enjoy talking to them, or you enjoy arguing back and forth and debating. One of my regrets from leaving DC, one of my major regrets of leaving DC and moving here, getting orders, is that did I truly convey the value I had for my office? My office meaning, the ones I worked with at the Pentagon, nothing against those at Andrews, but the Pentagon, those people I spent the most time with, I connected the most with. Shout out Chardonnay, shout out Van, shout out Chroma, shout out my little niece. People are just debating, and we have these deep conversations over nothing, just going back and forth. That was life. I enjoyed it. And now I'm out here, and there's no one that wants to argue. People just, oh yeah, you're right. I'm like, no, I'm not, bro. Don't. I'm wrong. Argue. Say something deep, intellectual, controversial. But typically, sadly, we have to get orders. We have to PCS 4,000 miles away to realize, I enjoyed that person's company. That person was a dope person to work with. I had a dope supervisor. Knowledgeable, competent, disciplined. My boy Vance, just we argue over nothing. Just, bro, that don't make sense, bro. We just go back and forth. My boy Chroma, same thing, but that don't even make sense, bro. We go back and forth. Just these conversations, except it's just somebody I can bounce ideas off of, and somebody I can just, those dynamics, they exist in people around you already. You just haven't discovered it yet. That's the sad part. Is that a lot of your best friends are probably sitting around you that you've been looking for this person to hang with, someone to engage with, someone to go spend time with, to go explore with, and they're looking for the same person, yet you guys are right next to each other. All it takes is a question, a quality question, a follow-up question to realize, oh, this person pretty dope. That's the video. Pride, address it with effort, consistently, daily. Pride, a practical exercise. Say yes. Someone invites you somewhere, you don't like what they're doing, it sound dusty, it sound In a lot of cases, especially here in Alaska, it sounds dangerous. And you're like, whitewater rafting? No. Say yes. At some point, you'll probably see a vlog of me doing some foolishness like that. If I don't make it, it is what it is. Say yes. You'd be surprised the opportunities that will become available to you if you're just a person who's not always trying to fight to get every single little detail from the host. The number one question that I hate, I'll invite somebody and I promise you, if I hear this response, I'm pretty much not going to invite you ever again to anything. Who all is going? You just made me feel like this, because apparently I'm not enough. Apparently the activity is not enough. You need a specific crowd. You need. It is what it is. Learn to say yes. Learn to say yes. Don't be a cynic. Be critical. Be curious. Nothing wrong with planning. Nothing wrong with having a little bit of the background logistics setup. Nothing wrong with that. But at some point you realize that it takes a certain amount of patience to ask someone to do something, to invite someone to do something. Men deal with all the time when it comes to asking girls out. Dealing with rejection. Men might act like no. Oh no, I don't care if they reject me. I don't care. Just make me stronger. Cool. That's a video. Out here ranting. Say yes, people. Deal with the pride. Ask for help. Oh, it's a human issue. It's a human issue. The military is just a small sample population of the rest of the world. We're all human out here. I'm not trying to be all hippie on the subject, but if you think about it, if there was a hurricane, if we lost all Wi-Fi and all of our technology was underwater, what would we have left? People. And the benefit to acknowledging that now is that you get to enjoy people along with all the technology. But a lot of us are going to sadly realize this after we've hit tragedy's door and we either lost someone or the world ended and there's a hurricane that put everything on the water and now your precious iPad is soaked. It's sad. But I would encourage you. Be more present. You enter a conversation, look down, make sure your feet are facing that person when you're talking to them. Your body is going to tell on you whether or not you're engaged in that conversation. Ask follow-up questions when they're talking. Eye contact. You'll be amazed how your body can communicate that I'm not interested in anything you're saying right now. And you just told that person, stop talking to me, bro. No. And if you do that all day long, a week long, a month long, years long, that all this time you've been communicating, leave me alone. Don't bother me. Don't talk to me. Don't ask me about anything. Don't invite me anywhere. And then you look up one day, why am I by myself? Why on a Friday night, Saturday night, I have nothing to do, no plans, holidays come around, you're just sitting up by yourself, just again, accountability, because the first thought is, woe is me. The first thought is the world is out to get me. The world is telling me that I'm not good enough. The world is against me. I'm all by myself. Like nobody cares about me. Again, back to that video. A lot of videos I have to address. A lot of old videos I have to address and say, was I was close, but I missed it. Because again, part of me still believes humans don't care about each other. But the caveat is, and it's the part that I will have to address from that old video, is that when someone shows that they care in action, indeed, you must learn to acknowledge that. And it's not all in like trying to repay them. It's in the fact that the acknowledgement of the time and effort that they placed into that action, and that acknowledging the fact that they did not have to do that and they chose to do it. They weren't required to. You didn't force them. You didn't guilt them into doing something with you. You didn't guilt them into showing your kindness. They initiated an act of generosity, of kindness, and with that, you realize the value of it. Of they made a choice to do that, and that's where the value comes from giving. Is that it's a choice to do it. But yeah, that's the video. I'm about to go downstairs and engage with the population. We will take the cup on tonight. First, I'm gonna have this coffee because I want to get in this bed, honestly. But I'm in the process of trying. And trying is really all that matters at this point. Trying, effort. Trying. So 51 minutes of getting things off my chest, but I feel free at this point. I feel like I've released a day's amount of drivel. But yeah, practice it, people. Practice it. I will see y'all next video. Y'all say what's good to your boy, and y'all have a good night.